Hey there, you going? Hey there, boy.
Good boy.
What are you saying to us? Look this way.
Was ist das denn?
Also das auch meine Hände, das ist nicht überlacht, ja?
Was ist das
Das ist traurig.
You wanna go? You wanna go?
It's okay, bud. Hey, Megan. Hey, Megan. Hey. Okay, this is... You're such a good singer.
You cannot keep interrupting. No. I'm having a conversation. Not gonna... No. Walter, I'm right here, baby. That's enough. Stop him very...
What's up?
Hello, ReIgnite Youth! It's our favorite day of the week. It's Wednesday. It's going to be a party. We're excited that you are here tonight. We're excited to see you. And we're just pumped to be together tonight for another night of games and fun and a time for God to speak to all of us.
Yeah.
So, hey, just as we start, we just want to remind you, this is an awesome time right now where we're gearing up to start, to text your friends. If you don't see them in the live chat, text them, remind them that it's happening. Text Elena and DK happy birthday.
Hey,
happy birthday, y'all. And we have some other birthdays throughout this week, actually. So happy
Eat
birthday
cake.
to all of you. Yes, eat cake. Birthday cake calories don't actually count. So
Nope.
I know you didn't know that, but now
Eat
you
the
do.
whole cake.
Oh,
All of it.
maybe
Eat
not
all the
do
cake.
that. Nope.
Yep.
But we just wanted to remind you to invite your friends. You can hit the share icon right underneath our video and send them the link, and all they have to do is click on it. And the other thing is to just remind you guys that those of you who have been watching all of the weeks that we've been online, minus 1 week, you are going to get a
pass.
limited edition ReIgnite t-shirt to
Heyo.
commemorate this time. It's going to be awesome. No one's going to have it but you. It's going to be
And
cool.
maybe
And
some
those
others. But
others who also.
just you guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cool.
all right. Well, awesome. We have a few announcements tonight. The first one that we're going to do is the one that we know you've all been waiting for. It is the pizza wheel.
Heyo.
All right, so Miss Megan is going to spin, so drum roll at home. My drum roll's not as good as Pastor Kenneth's. Who is it going to be? Elena! Wow! That's
It's a
some
birthday pizza.
luck. Yeah,
Yay.
that's awesome, Elena. Hey, we hope you're having a good quarantined birthday
Yes.
today.
Yes.
We love you, and we are so happy that you were part of our ReIgnite family. So
It's a
we hope you have
birthday
good
pie
birthday.
to go with the birthday cake.
Wow. Don't say we didn't think of you.
Hey.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, well, just a few announcements, too, that we have. Those of you who didn't win a pizza tonight, you're about to have an opportunity to win a Redbox code that
Yep.
you can use, like, to rent whatever movie you
This is
want
true.
to with your parents' permission. And then the other thing is that you're going to get an opportunity to win a pizza next week by commenting during our sermon time. So all like comments that are encouraging and about the sermon and answering questions and those kinds of things, those will all get credit for next week's pizza drawing.
Very cool.
And tonight,
Tonight,
we are going to play a game.
we're going to play 2 games. Well, a game and
And another game.
another game.
So
we played this last week.
Yeah, and we had so many unanswered questions
Yeah.
that we're going to do it again. And so, again, we're going to give you this time while we play this first game to go ahead and think of your questions and start sending them into my number, 281-203-1983, not 1983. And we'll get those and we'll answer them. And while we wait for your questions, we're going to play a game.
All right, so this game is going to be played in your comment section of the live chat. So, no phone calls for this game tonight. Everybody can say boo. But it is going to be fun.
It is
so,
fun. A little mask humor for you if you haven't had enough.
all right. So, this game is called What is Behind the Mask, Volume 2. Don't ask about Volume 1. We don't know where it went. All right. This is how we play. There's no instructions. I tricked you. It's going to be multiple choice. You're going to see an image. That image is going to have a mask over it. And then you are going to simply guess what's behind the mask. And so how you can play is comment your answer in the comment section of the live chat. Only comment 1 answer per round. All right? Here we
Or you will
go.
be disqualified. Dun, dun, dun.
Round 1, question 1. What is behind the mask? Remove the mask, and what kind of expression does T-Swizzle have? A smile, B, a frown, or C, a straight face? Alright, is it A, B, or C?
Oh, we have one already. Wow.
Hey, Brianna Davis.
Brianna, good job.
C is
Have
correct.
you seen this picture of T-Swizzle before? Did you have it memorized, or was it just a really good guess?
I know
wanna
Andrea probably did. All right, here we go. Next one. Pop star or actress, who is the person behind this mask? A, Katy Perry, or B, Zooey Deschanel? I know it's Zoe. I just think it's funny how she spells her name. So, A or B, Katy Perry or Zoe Deschanel?
All right. Lucy says it's
You are correct,
B,
Lucy.
and you're right.
It
Good
is
job.
B, Zooey. All right, next one. Remove the mask, and where will you find Steph Curry's mouth guard? A, the side of his mouth, B, on his teeth, or C, he doesn't wear a mouth guard. He lives on the danger side. Is it A, B, or C? The suspense is killing me. Hey, Matthew Cook, you are correct.
Good job, Matthew.
It is on the side. All right, next one. What type of piercing will you find under the mask? Is it A, lip, B, nose, C, tongue? I hope it is not C, because that's gross. I'm just kidding.
We've got a winner.
Hey,
Matt Cook.
Matt
on
Cook,
a roll.
you are correct. It is a nose ring. All right. Remove the mask, and what is on the Rock's face? Is it A, a beard? Is it B, clean shaven? Or is it C, a goatee? Hey, Amber, you are correct.
Amber, good job.
It is a goatee.
Did you know that already? Like, I'm really curious who knows these pictures of these celebrities before you know the answer.
Next one. What does Ed Sheeran have behind this mask? Is it A, lipstick? Wow. B, clown nose? Or C, lollipop? Is it A, B, or C? We are waiting for your answer. Ed Sheeran.
Oh,
Hey,
got one.
Brianna Davis.
Bree,
you
good
are
job.
correct. He's
Bree,
wearing
are
a
you
clown
still
nose.
driving around in the car?
All right, here we go. What is the emotion behind the mask of this emoji? Do you know your emojis? Here we go. A, sad, B, indifferent, or C, happy? Hey, Brianna Davis.
Wow, Brianna.
You are correct.
Have you played this game before?
It is C, happy. Someone's got to catch Brianna. She
I
is
know,
on
she
a
is
roll.
on it.
All right. What is the color of the macaroon? Is that how you say that? Macaroon?
Yeah,
That
it's-
is about to be unmasked. A, pink, B, yellow, or C, blue. And while you put in your answer, Andrea is going to pronounce it in French.
Got it.
Hey, before I reveal the answer,
A.
how do you pronounce it?
Macron.
Ah.
Yes, I did take French.
It is pink.
In high school, not
Way to
college. I
go,
didn't take it.
Lucy! All right, next one. What are you going to see on the mug of this pug? Now we're getting a little poetic.
Wow,
Here we go.
a little
A,
rhymey.
tongue out. B, smile. Or C, a snarl. I don't think pugs are mean.
I didn't think so
I
either.
don't know that a pug could snarl.
And 9.
Yep.
Got it. So it was
Hey, Samantha, you are
Samantha.
correct.
Good job. Sorry, there's a
Tongue
glare.
out. That is the right answer. All right.
Love it.
We've come to the end. Hasn't it been fun? Here we go. Last one. What are you going to see on the mug of this llama? Is it A, a pucker, B, teeth, or C, a smile?
Oh, got it.
Hey, Rachel Pittman, you are correct. It is B, teeth.
Sorry, that was actually Brianna Davis was correct.
Oh.
Sorry, Rachel, you put C, and we thought you were right because you were the first one in there. But that was very quick. Good job.
All right, congrats, Bree Anna Davis, you
Yes.
have won the red box code
Good
for
job.
tonight.
And hey, by the way, so we know that they kind of load maybe differently. So we're going with what pops up first on our screen. So if you notice, like on your screen, it might have popped up differently. I truly wholeheartedly apologize.
Yep. And it has to do with the church's Wi-Fi.
It does.
Holy Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Remember,
that's right.
youth group games, they're meant to test how much like Jesus you are. They're not meant to be fair. So, congrats, Bree, on that red box code. Do with it what you want.
That's right.
We'll get it to you later tonight. But for now, it is time for Q&A with A and K.
All right, send in your questions. We're going to wait for just a few more to come in, and we will answer them.
Cool.
All right, let me give you the first one. Just it.
Gotta stretch. You know, get ready.
That's right. Okay. I actually have one from last week that we didn't get to answer that I want to answer right now.
Okay.
Before we jump on the ones
Hey, send in
that
those
we're
questions.
on. Yes. Sydney wants to know, what is our favorite memory as adults?
Getting married to Andrea.
Wow.
You
That's
know.
a good answer, Kenneth. Yeah, that's probably one of mine. I really also enjoyed like spending holidays with our families.
Yeah,
like
that's
now
good.
married.
I like that.
We usually go and spend a week at Kenneth's parents' house for. I mean, it's technically a holiday, but it's also like a holiday that our family celebrates, where we celebrate Kenneth's parents opening the pool for the first weekend of the season, and so that is one of my favorite weeks personally. So that's
Yeah.
one of my favorite stories.
It's pretty fun.
Yep.
I like it.
Okay, Noah Hawkins has a really good one.
Ooh.
He wants to know, what is our favorite Flash character? Man, Noah, that was deep.
Barry Allen.
Your favorite?
Yeah. Not the Flash, Barry Allen. There's a difference. I feel like.
I really love Caitlin Snow.
That's
I really,
good.
really, she's one of my favorites. If not Iris West, because I mean, she's pretty amazing. So, okay, so we have someone wants to know what we get from Starbucks. That's good. What do we get from Starbucks?
Caramel macchiato.
Yeah.
Could be iced, could be hot. Depends on the season.
Yep. In high school, my friends and I made up a drink. It's not really made up, it's actually very basic, but we figured out a way to get like a venti iced coffee for like $2.50, which, like, if you know Starbucks, that's pretty good. But it's just an iced coffee with half and half and a shot of vanilla and a shot of hazelnut, and it's like $2.50 for a venti, or it was at the Starbucks we went to, but I've bought it at other places and it's rang up like $5, so beware.
Interesting.
Okay, let's see. That was a really good one. What is on our bucket list? Ooh, what is on our bucket list?
Well, I need a bucket before I can.
I have a bucket. Mine's very full. I'd like to go to Harry Potter World, so.
Cool. That'd be cool.
Yep, actually, Miss Megan and I are already planning our trip there once it opens. So surprise! No, I'm just kidding.
Wow. No, I don't know what's on my bucket list. I would like to learn how to surf. That'd be cool.
That's a good one. Kenneth. That's good. Okay, Samantha wants to know what our favorite Marvel movie is. Sam, you're gonna be really disappointed in me.
Ooh, actually, I actually watched one that I hadn't watched before. I don't know how I missed out on it, but Ant-Man. It's pretty great. I like that one.
Okay.
Yep. She had to check with me, make sure it was Marvel. It's okay.
Well, the only Marvel movie I've seen is my favorite. Go figure. It's Captain Marvel, so.
It's pretty good.
And yes, if you were wondering, that is a Marvel movie.
It is.
So,
Yep.
but that was my favorite. Also,
In
the
the
only
name.
one I've seen. And Kenneth and my sister dragged me there, and I walked out like, that was good. I'd see that again. So, there it is.
Yep.
Sorry to disappoint y'all.
You've actually seen one more. But
I have? Which
Yeah.
one?
We went to see Thor, the latest Thor movie when it came out, but it's okay.
We did?
Yep. Anyway.
I have no memory of that. Y'all.
See? Yeah.
Quarantine's getting to me. What is our least favorite ice cream flavor?
Least favorite ice cream flavor? Chocolate. I know. It's crazy. But I don't like chocolate ice cream. I like chocolate, just not chocolate ice cream. I like chocolate in my ice cream, but I don't like chocolate ice cream.
I'm losing likes here, but for me it's anything with peanut butter.
Boo.
Okay,
Alright,
guys,
pray for us.
Our cameraman's leaving,
so
Nate's walking away. Just kidding. He's here. Tell him thank you in the comments. Because did you know that this wouldn't run without Mr. Nate and Miss Megan?
Yep.
They're pretty amazing. So
give it up
them
for them in the
virtual
comments.
claps in the comments. So
some snaps.
do I have a favorite nickname? Okay.
Favorite nickname?
So I have a new recent favorite nickname. Growing up, my dad has always called me Monkey. And I told y'all the monkey story, I think, last week. And for other reasons, too, that's my nickname. But since I've grown up and I've become a pastor, my dad now calls me, I'm going to regret this, Pastor Monkey. And so, like, he'll call me and he'll say, Pastor Monkey. And I'll say, Pastor Daddy, because he's a dad. Or he's a dad. He's a pastor. Whoa.
It's been a week.
Surprise, my dad's a dad.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Wow.
No, yeah.
That's probably mine. What's yours?
Nicknames? I haven't had a nickname since my 3rd grade baseball team.
Tell him.
Okay. Well, I wasn't the tallest person. I still am not the tallest person, and so they used to call me Lil Pickles. That was my name on the old baseball diamond. So there you go.
Embarrassing.
Yep.
Okay, Annie wants to know, what is our most embarrassing story while dating?
Dating.
Remember our first date?
Yeah. It's pretty
Is that
embarrassing.
yours? You should tell them now.
I don't. Is that mine?
You were pretty embarrassed.
No, I was pretty embarrassed, but I don't know if that was the most embarrassing.
Kenneth dropped Dr. Pepper on himself
It's
on
true.
our first date.
It's true.
So that was pretty
All
funny.
over. It was great. Broke the ice, you know.
It did break
Got the
ice.
awkwardness out of the way.
Broke the ice, broke the cup. It was
Yeah,
good.
you know.
It was good.
What's yours then?
Oh gosh. That's right. I have
I'm trying to think if that's the most embarrassing one for me, but you go ahead and I'll
Most
think.
embarrassing. Oh goodness. I don't know.
I have one for you.
Oh, that's
Since you
alright.
shared one for me. No. I won't share it.
Okay.
Go for it.
I think one of my most embarrassing memories was Kenneth meeting my family. I have a and I don't just mean, so I'm Hispanic,
Oh,
and
my goodness.
if you're Hispanic, like a lot of you know what I mean, where like your family does not just mean like your nuclear family. It's like your aunts and uncles and extended family all the time.
Yep.
And so Kenneth came to town the first time ever and had to meet all of my family
It's
at
true.
the same
It was awesome.
time at a restaurant, and I was red probably most of the night.
Yeah.
Probably most
It was great.
for
It was
various things, I'm sure.
awesome. Yep, that's good.
It's a good one.
That's good.
It's a good one.
All right.
Oh, wait,
a few
I have
more?
one more. Okay,
Oh, okay.
I have one more embarrassing one, because that one was not as embarrassing. My grandma speaks only Spanish.
That was fun.
And we were dating pretty seriously. We weren't engaged yet. And she had come to visit, and as we were hugging her and leaving to go out the door, we had come and visited from college. I said, Grandma, when are you going to come back? And she said, I'll come back when I have an event to come back for. And she was hinting at us getting married. But of course, she only spoke Spanish, so I wasn't going to tell him. And so she said, tell him. And I was like, okay, I'll tell him later. And she said, no, tell him right now. So I had to tell Kenneth that my grandma had said that right then and there. And
It was great.
that was definitely my most embarrassing memory
great.
while dating.
I loved it.
So it was pretty good. Okay.
A couple more.
I think we have one more. So Robin's question is there anything you feel you cannot live without? Whew. I mean, for real, Jesus, and when I say that, I don't mean like just as a joke. There are some days where I'm a hot mess and I think, whoa, if I didn't have Jesus, this would be worse.
Yeah.
But on like a, more superficial level, this sounds so silly, but I don't think I could live without ice.
Ooh.
I love ice. I love all my drinks ice, even if they just came out of the fridge. Even my water is a little bit too room temperature for me right now.
I don't know. Socks. I don't like to go barefoot. Most of the time, even in our house, I wear socks. So, yep.
There you go, people. All the things you don't realize you love that you can't live without. I am actually really curious to know, though, what is the thing that you couldn't live without? So not like a really serious thing like your family and those kinds of things that we know, but like, just the superficial things.
Yeah.
Ice, socks, your phone. Like, I know some of y'all probably couldn't function without your phones. All right.
Crazy. All right.
Food, that's a good one. Caffeine. It's true. Annie's hand usually is connected to a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Izzy, we see you. Water. Samantha, you're right. I think physically and literally and scientifically and medically you cannot live without water. All right. Well, hey, I love this question game, and I really like it when you guys answer them too, because it's fun for us to go back and read or to read along and see what you guys say.
Well, hey guys, I am going to say bye to Pastor Andrea, because this week I'm going to be preaching, and so you guys will get time with her next week. So,
love you guys.
She may
I'll
come
see
back
you in the comment section.
Yeah, and she'll come back at the end to pray for us as we say goodnight. But I am excited for what we are going to talk about tonight. So we're in this series, right? We started this series last week, and we're calling it Wilderness, right? And so, we recognized last week that we all find ourselves in wilderness right now. And we may call it by a different name. It may look differently for each of us, but we are all in a place of wilderness. And the question that we left you with last week, there was actually two of them, if you remember them. It was, how will I be different after this time? And will I trust God to reclaim my wilderness for good? And so really quick as we get going, I just want you guys to do something that we did last week. And I want you guys to name your wilderness in the comments. Just type it out really quick right now. What is your wilderness season that you're going through right now? Because honestly, we're all going through this quarantine season, and with that comes challenges, comes struggles. We're all dealing with something. And so right now, just take a minute, think about it. What is your wilderness today? Put a name to it. Type that in the comments below. We're going to be tackling some of these, and you guys naming those for us allows us to kind of prayerfully be guided into what we talk about in the weeks to come. And so name your wilderness in the comments. And so we ask these questions. How will I be different after this time? Will I trust God to reclaim my wilderness for good? And, we'll all be shaped by this experience. But it's really our choice, right, of whether we do the shaping or we let God do the shaping for us. So tonight we're going to take a look at a guy in the Bible who had two names. And his two names were Abram, or, as you probably know him if you know him, Abraham. Right? So he had two different names, and we're going to talk about him and his wilderness experience. He had a crazy experience in the wilderness. And so Abraham was 75, right? He was kind of older when God came to him, and God came to him for the first time. Imagine hearing from God from the first time, not hearing about him in church, but God just come to you, and he says, hey, I want you to leave your home, pack up your family, and go to a new land. And imagine that you actually respond to this God who's talking to you and you say, okay, where we're going? And he says, I'll let you know when we get there. That's what happened with Abraham. Abraham was 75. He had lived a long life, but God came to him. And for the first time, Abraham heard from God, and God asked, hey, Abraham, I want you to leave your land. I want you to take your family and come out into the wilderness with me. I'll let you know when we get to the place where we're going. And so what did Abraham do? He picked up his whole family and he went. I wouldn't have done that. I got to be honest. Like, that takes incredible trust in God to be able to do that. And for the fact that this was the first time that Abram heard from God. But I want you guys to realize, like we talked about last week, that Abram probably didn't feel heroic in packing up his family and following God out into the wilderness. He probably was terrified, right? And he just was hoping that God was legit, right? God makes a promise to Abraham in this moment that if he trusts God and goes where God would lead him, that he would become a blessing to all nations. So basically, God told Abram, hey, come with me and I'll let you know when we get there. But if you do, you won't regret it, because I am going to change the world through your family. What if God came to you and said that? That's pretty incredible. So Abram goes, and some crazy things happen along the way. In fact, if you want to read all of the chapters that we're covering tonight, because I'm just telling you a story, right? If you want to read about this, it starts in Genesis chapter 12, and we're going to be going through Genesis chapter 15. And so between Genesis 12 and where we'll land in Genesis 15, some crazy things happened to Abram and his family. Abram and his wife and even his nephew Lot, who he kind of adopted as a son, get into all sorts of messes, right? Abram follows God out into the wilderness, but there are times where Abram doesn't really know if he can trust this God who's called him, and he doesn't really know that he's actually taking him to the place that he said he would, and so he tries to do things on his own, right? So they fall into a bunch of messes and mix-ups, but God continues to make a way for them out of the mess and towards what he ultimately promised to Abram. So we find Abram a little older, right? And God comes to him and he says, don't be afraid. I am your protector. I got you through this far, right? He kind of recounts, like, I'm the one that called you out of your parents, where your parents were from. I called you out of that land when you didn't know who I was. I'm the one who protected you through all the mishaps and all the mess-ups and all the ways that you turned the wrong way. I brought you out of that. I got you through this far. This will all be worth it. And, Abram, at this moment, he questions God because, honestly, Abram is old, right? And he doesn't have a son of his own. And God's promising, I am going to change the world through your family. And so Abram's thinking right now, what family, God? I don't have a family. You haven't given me any children. What do you think I'm going to do? Me and Sarah in our old age are going to change the world? We're old. We're at the end of our lives. How is this going to happen? Abram is questioning God, and so many times we read these passages in Scripture, and honestly, this part that we're talking about right here takes place in a few verses at the beginning of chapter 15 of Genesis, and sometimes I think we read past that, and we don't look into the humanity that's there. Abram left his life behind. He came out in old age into this wilderness, had all of these crazy things happen to him, and now this God is saying, I've got you. I've taken care of you to this point. But I got to be honest, if I'm in Abraham's shoes, I'm doubting a little bit too. I'm struggling with this whole thing too, and I'm going to ask the same question Abram's asking. How? How are you going to do this, God? How are you going to change the world with me? I'm just an old man, and I have no children. And I want to ask, have you ever found yourself asking God a question that starts with a how? There have been times in my life where I have found myself asking God the question, how? How, God? How is this all going to work out? How could this be this way, right? God's response to Abraham's how is pretty awesome. He takes Abraham outside, and he shows him the stars. And he tells him, try and count the stars, Abram. Try and count them if you can. And this is how many children you will have. That's what God tells him. He says, count the stars, Abraham. Try and count them if you can. And I want you to know that that's how many children you're going to have. That's what I'm going to do for you. And I don't know if you've ever been out in the middle of nowhere in the wilderness and you've seen the stars. But if you've had that opportunity, or if you get that opportunity, take advantage of it, because the stars that you see in the city aren't anything compared to what you see when you get away from civilization and you get to a place where there's no cities, there's no man-made lights, and all you see is stars. It seems like in those moments that the sky is just a little bit closer. And in those moments when you really take a minute to look at the stars, all of a sudden, honestly, you start to feel puny because you realize that there's planets and galaxies and all of these things out there. And you see the sky full of them. And if you've ever tried to count the stars like God challenged Abram to, it's impossible. You start on one side maybe, but then you get mixed up. It's crazy how God points to the sky and he says, count the stars, Abraham. This is what I'm going to do for you. These are going to be the number of your children, of your family, of the ones that are going to change the world. Then, after God makes this big promise to Abram, Abram asks once again, but how? God, I'm old. How? And how can I know that this will happen is what he says. And God then does something with Abraham that probably scared Abraham nearly to death. God told Abraham to set up this ritual that used to happen when a war was over back in that time. In ancient times, when armies fought, when nations clashed, what would happen is when all the fighting was done, the two leaders, right, would get together, and the leader of the winning army would instruct the leader of the losing army to go and dig a trench, right? And usually this trench would be dug on a hillside so that it slanted downward. And then that winning army leader would tell the loser to go and cut certain animals in half. And so he would go and he would cut these animals in half, like literally in half lengthwise. He would cut them in half, and they would set them on the edges of the trench coming down the hill. So what would happen was that all of the blood and guts of these animals would fall into this trench and fill this trench. And I know this sounds gnarly and it sounds gross, but this is what would happen. And so the winner would then tell the loser what demands they had to answer to, because they just lost. And the winner showed that they can overpower them, and so they have nothing else to do but to answer to the winner. And so the winner would make their demands, and they would say, you have to do this, this, and this. And then the loser would have to take steps down into that trench and walk all the way down through that trench, stopping at each animal. And the winner would say something like, if you don't hold up to this, you will become like this animal. And they'd take the next step. If you don't hold up to this, you will become like this animal. And so it's pretty gnarly and really gross. And so Abram was freaking out because this God, and if you don't know, in that time, people around Abram, nations and families around Abram at that time would have believed in God's doing these crazy things. And so Abram was thinking, oh my goodness, this God is about to make me walk this trench. He's about to say, if I can't provide this big family for him to change the world, I'm going to become like these animals. What am I going to do? And so he starts to freak out. And I almost think, in the text it says that he falls into a sleep. And I almost think that, like, when I'm scared, sometimes I just go to sleep because I want to escape it. And so I just take a nap. And so I think this is what's happening with Abram. Abram is so freaked out. He's so scared of what this God may require of him. And so he falls asleep. But then God does the most unexpected thing that Abram could think of. It says in the Bible that as Abram fell asleep, he had a dream. And in this dream, he saw this smoking vessel, this fiery torch, right? He sees this torch. And in the dream, he realizes that this is symbolizing God and God's presence with him. And all of a sudden, Abram sees himself at the top of the trench. And all of a sudden, at the last minute, the torch representing God passes in front of Abram and passes down through this trench. God makes it clear in this moment to Abram that he is not alone in his wilderness. God makes it clear to Abram that he is a God who is a waymaker. He is a God who is loving and merciful and carries his own promises. And so in this moment, God did not make Abram pass through saying, if you can't do this for me, Abram, you're going to end up like these animals. You are going to be doomed. No. God instead said, Abram, I love you and this world so much that I'm willing to struggle with you in your wilderness. And I'm willing to struggle with your family to make a way for all the world to be restored. Even if it means that I become like these animals. Even if it means that I become a sacrifice. And you might hear familiar words in those phrasings of God becoming a sacrifice. We know what happens with the life of Jesus. God doesn't make us carry the weight of his promises. God shows Abram, I'm not making you carry the weight of this. You're not the one that has to hold up your end of the bargain. I will carry the weight of this promise to the end. He doesn't hold them over our head, so we have to do what he wants, right? Sometimes we think of God as like this cosmic police officer, right? Waiting for us to do wrong so that he can get us, right? But in this moment, God shows us and shows Abram, that's not what he's about. God is a God who gets down in the mess with us, who walks the roads that we don't want to walk by ourselves. God meets us where we are, in the middle of our wilderness, and he offers us a way that he's already walked, right? A way that leads to his promises. A way that doesn't go away when we mess up, but that's like a GPS when you get lost, and it always reroutes, right? What if a GPS, when you took a wrong turn, it was like, well, you took the wrong turn, not my fault, good luck. Aren't you glad that your GPS doesn't do that, right? It always is constantly, no matter how many wrong turns you take, it's going to constantly suggest a way to get back to the path that you're supposed to be on. This is what God is saying. I am a way maker in the wilderness. I want to provide a way for you to come back to what I have promised. And so we always, no matter what turns we make, no matter what we've done in our past, God is always trying to call us back, to reroute us, to make a path to where we can find our way back to his promises. So now, the choice is ours. Are we going to trust God to carry us through the wilderness, or are we going to try and wander through it ourselves and ignore his rerouting? We had the opportunity, Andrea and I had the opportunity to go to San Francisco this past fall and to go and see a Seahawks game. They were playing the 49ers, right? And it was probably the craziest NFL game I have ever seen on TV and in person. And so it was crazy that I got to be there, right? And we were watching this game unfold, and from the very beginning, it was a back and forth battle. And there was times where we were excited because the Seahawks were winning, and there were times where we were totally crushed because it looked like the Seahawks were going to be totally destroyed in this game, right? And so it goes back and forth until the fourth quarter. The Seahawks have an opportunity to win. The 49ers have an opportunity to win. And then all of a sudden, it ends up in overtime. It's a tie game after 4 quarters, and so we go into this sudden death kind of play where it's overtime. The next person to score wins, right? And so all the way through the game, I would go through these moments where we were losing. I would be like, how are we going to come back from this, right? He just threw an interception. How are we going to come back from this? And then by the end of the game, my mindset had kind of switched because of all the ups and downs, all the twists and turns, all the emotional roller coasters that we had been on throughout the game. I started to think, in overtime, It's not how someone's going to win it. It's who. Like, someone is going to win this game. Who is it going to be? And, like, I started to wonder, like, is it going to be Russell? Because I was hopeful. I was always holding out for the Seahawks, hoping that they would win. I was like, is it going to be Russell Wilson throwing a touchdown pass? Is it going to be Jason Meyer kicking a field goal? Is it going to be a 49er who wins the game? So I switched from this question of how, like how are we going to win this game, to who's going to win it, because someone is. And I think it got me thinking when I was thinking about this story, thinking about this memory today, that it's not our job to figure out how we'll get through the wilderness. It's not our job. But our job is to hold on to who is going to carry us through it. I want to say that again. Just like in the football game, it wasn't about how someone was going to win it. What mattered was who was going to win it. And so I gotta ask, are you trying to figure out how you'll get through this time? Because if you are, I feel like that's a losing battle. But we begin to find peace and we begin to find comfort when we change our question from how to who, and we realize that who is God himself, calling us, saying, I want to make a way. I want to walk the path that you don't want to walk. I want to be there for you, to carry you through this time. And so tonight, that's our main thought. That's where we're landing, is this thought of no matter what we're dealing with, whether it be disappointment, whether it be anger, whether it be frustration, whether it be sadness, whether it be anxiety, whatever it is, whether it be struggling to trust people, to trust God. The bottom line is to begin to deal with our wilderness and to face it. We have to give up the battle of how we're going to face it. And we have to start to give in to who can carry us through it. Because once we give in to who can carry us through it, and once we begin to allow him to speak into our lives, and we're quiet ourselves, and we quiet our worry, we quiet our doubts, then God starts to work and move. And we find that he is a way maker. We find that he walks alongside of us through the most difficult times. And so, in the beginning of this series, as we dig deeper next week, keep this in the back of your mind. The starting place is not how we deal with these things. The starting place is who are we going to let carry us through these things. So I'm going to ask Pastor Andrea to come and to pray for us. I am so thankful that you guys are here tonight. I'm so thankful that we can have an opportunity to talk about real and hard things. We have been praying and have been contemplating, like, what is the goal of ReIgnite, right? What is the goal of this ministry? And we kind of landed on this thought of the goal is for us to learn as a community how to be real with God, ourselves, and with others. And so that's what we want to do. And so if that means that we have to have conversations that are a little bit more heavy, but that are full of God's truth and goodness, then we're better for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And really being real is the only way that we actually figure out how to move forward.
Yeah,
it's the only way that God can even carry us through these things, because the truth is that God doesn't carry us kicking and screaming.
Right.
He doesn't drag us.
Right.
God takes our hand, and that means that we have to walk with him.
I love that.
And so just think about that. As I've really loved getting to be with you guys in the comment section tonight, and seeing the things that you guys have been talking about and being super real with. And I want to encourage you with this. If you, just listening to your sermon and how it was speaking to me, in this season, guys, one of the things that God has been talking to me a lot about is that a lot of the choice of how my life goes, a lot of the if my relationship with God will grow, that choice is in my court. Because God has already, even in Abram's story, God has already walked through, that, ritual for us. God has already done what God has said that he would do. And now it's up to me to respond. It's up to me to accept the free gift of grace and mercy. And it's up to all of you guys. And so if you feel far from God, if you feel those things, know that you can reach out and that God is already there. Sometimes we say, like in services, God, we invite you here, but the truth is God has already been here. God has been here way before we were here.
Right.
God was working before he even called Abram, right? The first of many people. And he will continue to. So just wanted to encourage y'all with that. That was really good. I needed to hear that. I think from our comments, I think there were a lot of people that needed to hear that. Thank you. Thank you. Did y'all see Megan's comment, Pastor Monkey? That's me. All right, let me pray for you guys. Dear God, I just thank you for everyone here tonight. Lord, as we have all been passing out care packages to students this week, there's this number that keeps running through my mind. 72 students. We made care packages for 72 students who are a part of our ReIgnite family. And I bet that if we started digging, that we could find more. I bet that if we started digging, we could find more people who are connected to this group, more people who maybe aren't present here right now or haven't been present in a long time. But I just say that to say, God, I give everything that we do in this time. Lord, we give you ReIgnite Youth. And God, we ask that you, like you chose to partner and that how you reached out to Abram and you invited him to be a part of what you were doing, God, that you would continue to use us. And not only that you would continue to use us because we know that you want to use us, but God, that we would be willing to be used. God, that we would submit to you our words and our thoughts and God, our time, Lord, the things that we watch, the things that we listen to, Lord, the things that we say, the things that we use our money on, God, because the truth is that all of those things point to the things that actually matter to us in our lives. Where we spend our money, how we spend our time, all of those things, how we use our words, are direct indicators of what owns our lives. And God, I pray that it would be you. God, that you would be the one that would have complete control of our lives. Lord, that you would be our compass. God, that you would be what directs us all of the time. And Lord, I pray, and I don't pray this to sound judgy because I pray it for myself. God, I pray that I would stop making excuses, Lord, for why it is that I'm not close to you or why it is that this isn't right. But God, I pray that you would help me to make those right decisions. Lord, in the moments where I would rather choose Netflix over spending time with you, God, that I would surrender. Lord, in the times where I would rather stay up and do something else, God, that I would submit to you knowing that you are what makes my life better, even if it's harder, even if it costs me something in that moment. Lord, I thank you for these students. God, I thank you for these amazing, incredible youth staffers who are responding to what you have done in their lives. And so they're here pouring into this generation, Lord. God, I thank you for what you're doing in our lives, even despite a pandemic, Lord. I thank you for the ways that you are redeeming our wilderness and for what you will continue to do in our lives during these next few weeks. We love you and we praise you and we pray all of these things in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen. Well, hey guys, we love you and we are so glad that you tuned in. We hope to see you really soon and hopefully it won't be long until we get to see each other in person. But
That's
for
right.
now,
Woohoo!
we love you. Don't forget about game night on Friday.
Yes.
And we will get that pizza to Elena and that Redbox code to Bree right after
That's
we
right.
sign
And
off.
we're playing a new game on Friday
Hey.
night this week. It's going to be good.
Cool. All right. Hey, guys, we love you. We'll see you later.
Have a good
Peace.
night.